Okay, great. So Jodee, so I kind of want to dive into some of the Mel Robbins stuff.
Okay.
Um, you should have known.
All right.
Um, so just kind of share a little bit about, what you've been doing. Why don't you share a little bit about you? You don't have to jump right into Mel Robbins. Give us a little bit about your background. Share to the group, who you are, what you've been up to, and what's going on.
I've been in the mortgage lending space for 30 years in a variety of roles, from CEO of a company to a speaker to an originator, always originating all the way through. And I'm very passionate about spreading financial wellness within our communities and helping real estate agents grow their business through promoting financial literacy, whether that is through a newsletter. It's just a nice touch point and way of staying in touch. I am a mom of one, and I do have a dog named Baxter Bashy Boo, who Tanya knows. And I'm really honored to be here today with all of you. I've known Tanya for many, many years. We'll just leave it at that.
We'll just say it's been a long time.
It's been a long time, and Tanya actually sold us our dream home. So it's been a relationship that's been really great for all the years that we've been together. So thank you for having me this morning.
Our pleasure. Okay, so now let's jump into Mel Robbins.
Okay.
So tell us what inspired you to start coaching with Mel?
Oddly, her coaching program landed in my email, and I to this day I have no idea how it landed there, but it did. And I did some research and I thought, I'm in need of a coach. I want to do something different. I don't want it to necessarily be industry related. I wanted something a little bit broader. So I joined her coaching um, platform 2 years ago. And it's become my annual birthday present to myself, where I join coaching with her. It's a 6 month nonstop. You work on a project. It can be you, it can be business, it can be whatever you want it to be. But I just found her to be a very grounding, um, logical person in the way that she puts systems together to help you meet your goals and get to where you want to be in life, whether that is personally or professionally. And she's an incredible human being.
Agreed. Yeah. We recently read the Let Them theory in our office. We have a little book club going on.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely gave a lot of insight. And it's a book club with a mix of there's realtors and entrepreneurs, but also staff members too. And it was just so fun to hear everybody's takeaway on it. I always feel like, I consider those types of books like my business help books, right? But not everybody who reads them and finds, great insight. They're not all running a business. Although many are running a family, and I think that's the biggest business any of us can run.
Yes, for
How
sure.
have you seen any of that play out with your family, like raising your daughter? Have you had any insight or help from Mel from that?
Absolutely. And, speaking of the Let Them theory book that I've definitely read, and even with my daughter, it filters down. It's you look at life so differently when you really use the words "let them." If somebody is kind of raining on your parade for a day, you have to realize it's not about you. Let them be in that space. You walk away and continue in your light and growth. And I've used it with my daughter. I've used it with my husband. I think it's an easy, two-letter word, two phrase word that keeps life light, really light, and allows you to not get caught up in the minutia of, someone else's energy, someone else's bad day, the way somebody talks to you. It keeps you positive and it keeps your momentum going, which I think in today's world, in life, in our business, it's something we all need, because we work in an industry that's very personalized, it's very emotional with our clients. And you have to kind of keep that grounded space of, people are going to have bad days, they're going to have good days, and you just have to not let it impact you. So you have to let them, so that you can go on and let me or you do what you do best.
Well, and Jody, didn't Chloe just have her prom this last week? And there's a great part at the beginning of the book that
Yes.
she talks about the prom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And talk about proms being very different than when we went to prom. And, Mel does talk about that in her book of she had a moment with her son where she was trying to make things happen. And her daughter finally turned around and said, just let him, Mom, just let him be. And I've had to do that even with my daughter with prom. Like, you try to control things, you try to make it what your prom was, but it's their prom. So let them maneuver and do what they want to do as they work through life.
Well, and also Chloe and her drive, extreme drive to in skiing
Yes.
and that and the support with that and pushing through the pain that she's been through on
Yes.
that, because that's incredible of what she's accomplishing for that.
Thank you. Yeah. And she's had some let them moments for sure. Being in a very competitive sport, she has to kind of tone out everything else that's going on and let people do what they're doing, and she has to be in her zone for sure. Yes.
It's definitely a way to keep yourself focused, right?
Yes. Yes.
Would you say there's any particular mind shifts that you might have noted while you were doing some of the training with Mel Robbins?
For sure. Absolutely. So, one of the biggest is I started the program with a big professional goal. And the mind shift that I had is, as we were working through our goals, she basically told us, you're going to end up working on something completely different. And as you're going through that process, it takes a while to recalibrate your brain to get into a space of, oh, it's not what I signed up for, what I thought I was going to do. You end up going through many journeys with her, and you look at yourself personally, which crosses over professionally. And those are the shifts that I think were the biggest, of just getting into both mindsets and figuring out what is best for you. It becomes a very personalized program. And I think that's the biggest shift is we tend to give so much in our industry as, a realtor, as a lender, as a title rep. You're giving, 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 and you forget to give to yourself and find out what's most important to you. And I think that was my biggest mind shift in the first phase of training with her, was taking a little bit more time for me and focusing on me versus everybody else in the world.
It's a really good point. A phrase that is very popular with this group is healthy selfish.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Sky coined that. Sky Michaels.
I like to call it
Family.
healthy self first, because selfish kind of,
Oh,
but it's putting yourself first sometimes and learning to say no. And it was funny. It was like the book last month. I think, I don't know which book group it was because we have so many. Was what was it? Some
say
no,
no
about
first,
saying no.
starting with no.
Starting with no. Yeah.
Well, and we're kind of trained in the beginning, right? You start flying and they tell you to put your mask on first before you put on, your child's, right? And
Yes.
that is so that you can continue to help them. You have to help yourself first.
Yes.
That was a hard
And
lesson for me to learn as a mom,
yes.
taking time for myself.
Yes. I think many, many moms struggle with that, Tanya, for sure. Because your being is to give. It's to be there for everybody else. And we just forget to be there for ourselves sometimes. And it's a great reminder to check and go back into you.
Well, I think we all know real estate can be an emotional roller coaster. You have any tips and advice, anything you've learned that could help everybody here stay a little more stable?
With emotion, it is a very emotional business, and you deal with a lot of emotions on a day-to-day basis. So it's not only your emotions that play, but you're dealing with, a handful of clients who all have an emotional degree at different levels. And I would say, again, keep that, let them in your system of, if somebody's having a bad day, know that it's not necessarily a reflection on you, because our business is such an emotional roller coaster. From the minute the person finds their dream home to the time they sign on the final document to close that escrow, it's an emotional up and down, day to day, hour to hour. And you are psychologists in a weird way in your field. So keeping yourself grounded, taking care of you each day, taking time out for you every day, which I think is something that over the years I've watched, everyone in our industry struggle with. We get so caught up in the day-to-day minutia that we forget to take that 30 minutes to go work out or go for a walk or clear your mind or ground yourself. And I would say definitely make sure you calendar time for you to do that, because it will keep you stronger throughout transactions as well.
Oh, such good tips. It's the
And that's
calendaring part that us realtors struggle with.
We all do.
my morning time, and my wife doesn't realize. She goes, "Why do you get so early?" I get up early because once 7 o'clock hits, my day, it's not my day anymore.
Yes.
And that's my time. It really is. Jodee, your book, Digging Out, it's a great book. One thing I've been doing is when I have a brand new client and I share them this book, if it's a first time buyer. And I've been doing that with even with other clients. And so because it's a great book about um, getting out of debt, balancing your, all your finances and stuff. Um, you know, you tell us a little bit about what your inspiration about writing the book.
So my inspiration was, it was twofold. When I was young and in my 20s, I got myself into debt and had to come up with a plan to get out of debt. And doing so, it was almost like a lesson for myself to teach clients, because when I look at a loan application, in our industry, especially as loan originators, we see more on an application than any other financial professional. So over the years, I started reviewing a little bit more in depth every client's credit portfolio, financial portfolio, and with working with clients to help them get out of debt, or when they buy a house, even giving them the structure of how making one extra payment a year can trim that mortgage by 6 years, helping them pay down debt more efficiently, more effectively became a big part of my day-to-day business. So that's what really inspired me to write the book. A couple of clients had suggested I do it for their kids, actually, who had graduated college and they needed a little guidance on getting out of student loan debt. And looking at applications, I just realized there was such a need for it. So many people are in credit card debt, they have student loan debt, they have big mortgages, good debt, bad debt, whatever you want to call it, it's debt. And it can create a really heavy burden on a client, on an individual, that can actually make other parts of their lives not thrive as effectively. So I wanted to create an easy to follow guide of how to organize your documents. Like, even if you buy a house, you get bombarded with paperwork. How do you keep on top of that? As a self-employed individual, how do you stay focused on where your money is, where your money's going? How do you trim expenses during, bad markets? How do you invest during good markets? And so that's what kind of motivated me to put the book together and create an easy to follow guide that anyone can pick up. And it doesn't necessarily mean debt, but it can mean, organizing your finances, setting financial goals, trimming expenses, all of those things that you just need in life, because we reset all the time. When we buy a new car, we reset financially. When we purchase a home, we reset financially. When our kids go to college, we reset financially. There are many resets in life. And that was the inspiration for all of it.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Yeah, when I read it, I just then wanted to give it to clients as well. And I definitely tell everybody that I introduce you to that, it's something that I think that clients worry about, finding somebody to help them with the loan. It's all unknown territory, right? It's not something that the average Joe knows really anything about. And there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think ego gets involved, especially if they're worried about credit scores and they don't really understand how that impacts, their future as far as purchasing a home. And they do worry. And so once I tell people that, you really do take their best interests at heart, and you've even written a book about, staying financially savvy. it always just kind of softens that step. And I love introducing you to people because of that. So thank you for taking that step. Anybody want to, I'm sure John has the link to purchase the book if you have any for yourself or for clients. I'm sure he's going to put that in the chat.
But when are you going to put it on Audible so then I can actually listen to it?
I need to do that. That needs to go on the goal sheet.
You have a nice voice. You could read it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will look at that because it is something that I think is in demand now, John. So perhaps that needs to go on the goal sheet of turning it into Audible. The reason I hesitated originally is because I included worksheets in there, but those could always be downloadable later. So absolutely. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
What are you seeing right now as far as some of the biggest struggles with buyers seeking loans?
Couple things I'm seeing right now. One is a lot of debt again. There's a lot of credit card debt that I'm seeing in the market that is creating a lot of burden to clients, making them a little hesitant to purchase homes, and taking that extra layer of restructuring, I think, is really important. The other thing that I'm seeing is clients are a little timid when it comes to gathering documents, putting documents together, looking at their credit score. Like you said, it's ego driven. We are so identified now by a credit score. It's kind of sad to me because people really hide behind that, and they're very fearful when they talk about credit as a whole. So from debt perspective, it's a little bit higher. From stock perspective, it's a little bit lower. So you're seeing a little bit more conservative portfolio mindset coming in with clients when they go into the home buying process. I think it's healthy. I think that it's not a bad thing. It's just guiding people is what they really need. Your clients need guidance now more than ever on when they purchase that home. What does that payment mean? What does the tax write-off mean? I'm finding that a lot of clients are not aware of that anymore. And just helping them structure and feel like you're holding their hand through the process versus lecturing them about the process when it comes to a financial piece in the real estate market is essential for keeping the transaction running smoothly.
I think that you are so good at that. And I didn't bring you on to pump you up here, but that is, you said holding their hand through it. And I think that it really does help when they feel like they have a partner. I feel like we do the same thing on our side. We try to hold their hand through the process of buying a home, and we kind of hold their hand and then we hand them over to our lender, and we hope and trust that they do everything that we have been procuring for that process just to continue.
Well, it is. It's an educational process. It's a scary thing. I mean, buying a house is one of the largest purchases of someone's life. And I know when my people just said, sign here, sign here. I know what the hell I was doing. It's about educating them so that they have the power in themselves.
Yes.
And that's what I love about what we do, and also, Jodee, what you do for our clients, and giving that education and holding it their hand.
Thank you. And you're right, John. It's the biggest financial transaction that an individual or a couple that they make together, whether it's their first home, their second home. It gets larger usually until they decide to downsize. And I think even as realtors in your industry, in the book, there are so many little tidbits that you can take and add to newsletters and put out. Like, clients always want to know, how do I look up my credit? How do I find out my credit score? And knowing that there's, one place to go, and that's annualcreditreport.com, to look at your credit and advise your clients on doing that, and teaching them the healthy habits of once a year, pull your credit and just make sure that there's nothing on there that you're not aware of. You going into your client database and putting that back into your community makes you it just demonstrates another layer of expertise that's going to help you in the community create more solid roots, in my opinion. There are a lot of little seminars that you can put on for extra touches of how to organize your documents, little things like that, how to set financial goals, especially with clients who, if they have children coming out of college, you're then helping that college student who's graduating learn all of the items that are involved with purchasing a home and helping them set their goal to purchase a home one day. And I think that's a great piece that you can use as another layer of expertise in the industry.
I mean, I'm really excited about Tanya and I were having Tanya and Lorraine up in the East Bay and us down here it's called Clear the Clutter. And we're having an event for our client event, and we're very excited about it, so that this is something that each one of you can do all over the country in your own areas. Talk with your lender and talk with some people. There's groups out there that help people clean up the clutter physically in your home to organize, and also your finances, because it's so needed. And but I'm excited about that. But that's something everyone out there should be doing for a client event.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event. Two events, because John's doing one down in the South Bay, and Lorraine and I are doing one up in Danville. And yeah, we're excited. Jodee's part of it up here. So if anybody wants to travel to California, come to our Clear the Clutter event.
You can come down to the South Bay
first.
one first, and go to Tanya's and Lorraine's.
All right. Well, back to Mel Robbins a little bit. What's one thing that you've learned that you think could help realtors as well? And kind of anything, whether it's, financially, whether it's mindset. What do you think could be an asset for us to help with our clients, or just personally?
Calendaring 15 minutes a day to work on one of your goals. Literally just calendar 15 minutes a day and do a 30-day sprint. That's one of the things that we do with our projects with Mel, is we literally I created a poster board with 1 through 30 sticky notes on it. And then each day that I accomplish, I'll put a gold star on it. That's a Mel thing. But breaking a bigger goal down into smaller little bite-sized challenges for 15 minutes a day, what you will find is you'll end up working on it longer than 15 minutes. But you feel like you've accomplished something that is part of a bigger goal versus your day-to-day, everything you do on a continual basis feels like Groundhog's Day. This kind of gets you out of that and shakes you into what you're really trying to push toward. So I would say break things down and do a small 15-minute time block on your calendar each day where you're working on a goal for yourself.
Thank you. I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Definitely a good one.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Oh, geez. Okay. Fair. That's fair.
Jodee, what's a main goal, or I know that every year you kind of pick something. This is my thing, one big accomplishment that you're trying to get done. What's something in your life you're trying to get done?
Right now?
What?
Right now?
Yeah.
This moment. Well, there's many, but let's stick with professional. One is to do more podcasts this year on financial wellness. And that's one thing that I've been working as part of my coaching with Mel. That's been one of my big goals, is getting back on camera. I think over COVID, we probably all experienced it, where we had a little Zoom burnout and we were tired of being on camera. And that was one of my goals, is to get back into this and get financial wellness circulating more in communities, because I think it's something that is really needed. And I think that, once you take the elephant out of the room and you help people and you guide people, you're making a difference. And that's probably my biggest goal professionally this year.
What about personally?
I knew he was going to do that to you. You did too, right?
Of course he's going to do that to me. Well, one of my personal goals this year is, do I talk about a dance team?
Yes, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
One of my personal goals is to make it on the Golden State Warriors Hardwood Classics dance team. And that's for the elderly folks of 55 and above.
Elderly folks. Oh, my
elderly
gosh.
folks.
I don't know what you call it. What are we? Youngins?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. I like it. Mm-hmm.
The classics.
Let's talk about that process a little bit because you have a little bit of experience.
Yes. I did try out last year. Came home from Europe very, very jet lagged and did my first tryout with them. And I have to say, I've always been a huge Warriors fan. I'm very passionate about the Warriors.
Go Dubs.
Go Dubs. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Being in that room with, both male and female dancers of your own age and just supporting one another and having fun in a room and understanding the bigger layer of the Warriors organization and what a great organization they've actually built made me want to be a part of it even more. So I plan to go back again this year and try again. And hopefully one of these tryouts will come to fruition and I'll be on courtside.
Deanna, we're talking about the Golden State Warriors, the basketball team. Are you surprised, Tanya, that I knew?
John's not really into sports, so we do a little extra training sometimes. It's gonna explain things.
It's a basketball team, I hear.
Well, we'll get that on your goal list. Tanya and I will educate you because we do like to go to games together.
Type me in the chat if you also have a big goal that you're working on. I keep saying I'm going to get on video myself and do some YouTube videos. And John keeps hammering at me. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't that your word of the month last month?
It was. Yeah.
And how many did you do?
Well, I didn't publish any. It's probably not the right word, though. It's not publish. What would you call that? I didn't post any.
Post.
Yeah. I like publish.
There we go. Yeah. Well, you would, being an author.
Yes.
It's true.
Does anybody have any questions that they want to unmute and chat? Want to ask Jodee?
Yes. Any questions that come up, I'd be happy to answer.
Deanna, here's your chance to ask the author about the book that's been sitting on your coffee table.
No, but Chris in the chat asked a very good question.
What advice would you give to a realtor who's struggling to get out of debt? I get paralyzed with financial goal settings because my income is so unpredictable. How would you suggest I overcome that obstacle?
Okay. Couple of thoughts on that. One is definitely look at your last 2 years of income. So start there of what you made as a whole the last 2 years. See if you're on track for that this year in 2025. And try to average out what that monthly budget would be. The tough thing in our industry are the highs and the lows, where you have 1 month that you close and you have a really high peak of income. And then the next month, because you've been so focused on that high level income, they drop down and then you're back up, and it's the roller coaster that you go through with income. So try and determine, and I can help with this if you need it, what your average income has been for the last 2 years. If you're averaging that now, then we need to break apart expenses to see where is your money going every single month and how do we create a more fluid balance level to it. So each month you're contributing to paying off one credit card at a time. So how I would break this down is organize the documents. Number one, all of your credit card debt, all of your income, then create a budget of how much is outgoing on a monthly basis from gross income to mortgage payments, credit card, etc. Then with focusing on the credit cards, and I have some worksheets that I can send you on this, what you want to do is you want to pay the minimum on all except for one. And you want to identify probably the highest interest credit card to start with and just put as much as you can to that credit card to pay it off. Once that one is paid off, take that amount and apply it to the next highest interest credit card so that over time, you're creating the snowball effect and it will pay the debt down really quickly and efficiently. But the hardest challenge is determining what is that average income per month so that on the high months, you're spreading it out and you're not getting short. You're actually able to, like if it's $10,000 a month and you have a $10,000 and a 15 and then a $20,000 a month and then a zero, you want to make sure that if the average is 10, you're putting away in savings the remaining amount to offset those low months. Does that make sense? It's a lot of information in one shot there, but I just want to make sure that makes sense to whoever answered the question, John, or asked the question.
Yeah, I think that's a nice visualization. It is a snowball effect.
Yeah.
But I think it does, when you have that intention, it helps to have that kind of spelled out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. Somebody said that that process can be scary. And I think it definitely is scary for a lot of people.
It is scary. And that's the hardest thing, I think, for anybody who's in debt or they haven't looked at their finances for a long time. And it's a very normal thing. People like going to the dentist more than they like sitting down and paying bills each month. I mean, honestly, it gives you anxiety. It's yes, all of us.
I'll
I
raise
mean,
my hand to that. Yeah.
it's where it is. But the more you look at it, like creating an organized filing system and knowing how much you owe on each credit card, what that interest rate is, it can be scary to look at. But once you know the facts, you know how to deal with those facts and you know which one to focus on. And once you have a focus of, I'm going to pay off, call it Macy's, which has an interest rate of 29%, I'm going to pay that off in the next 6 months. Create a little goal chart where every month that you chunk away at that, you're filling that up to say you've paid it off, and it keeps the momentum going as well. I joke about when I was in debt in my 20s, I had charts up around my house of here's what I'm paying off each and every month. And when people would come over, it was like a Seinfeld episode. I would run around and tear it all down because I didn't want anyone to know I was in debt. Nobody wants to know. Like, you don't want to expose yourself. It's embarrassing, but it's also part of life. It's just life. And that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah, agree.
Chris, I see you're unmuted. Did you have a comment?
But only that my ego is forcing me to scream out, I don't have that much credit card debt. It's mostly just HELOC debt, but what a funny thing just even that is in itself. But I love your comment about taking the 2 years and using that as your projected income, because that's the real hurdle. So thank you very much. Great answer.
You're
Chris,
welcome.
you get enough sleep with the new baby? Chris has a baby.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
That's a financial reset, Chris, right there.
Yeah.
Big one. It's a big one.
Big one. Congratulations.
Bob
Thank you.
asked in the chat, he wanted to know regarding the book, how you came to decide to write a book and what was the writing process like for you?
So it was both personal driven and client driven, and feeling like there was a need in the marketplace for financial wellness and an easy to follow guide that basically encapsulated everything financial. So that was the motivation behind it. The process, I did hire a coach to keep me on track, because once I got focused, it had been baking for a number of years in my head. Once I got focused, I had to basically block time on my calendar during the day, but my inspirational moments came at like 2 and 3 in the morning, where I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would go and write. It was a big ego check, I will say that, because when you're writing a book and you're handing it off to an editor and it's your blood, sweat, and tears of what you feel is the best for the financial market, and somebody just completely destroys what you've said and they rip it apart and they say this doesn't work, it can be challenging. But it's a fun challenge on the other hand, because you're learning other viewpoints of how people are going to interpret what you've written as well. So it was a great process. I think all in all, it was very fun to write a book. I enjoyed it. And it was just literally time blocking and making sure that you calendared, because it's a goal, and it's breaking it apart, like Mel tells you to, into bite-sized chunks, and working on it a certain amount of minutes or hours every single day, whether there's inspiration there or not. It's forcing yourself to get into the writing habit.
I'm used to having someone rip my shit apart and tell me.
Is her name Tanya?
Yeah, her name's Tanya.
Okay.
Oh, on that note, Betty, you have your hand raised.
Hi, I do. Good morning. Hi, Jodee.
Hi, Betty.
I have three quick questions. Well, maybe they're not quick. The first one is, do you recommend to people that they use one of those credit check monitors that will alert you? And if so, which one? That's one question. Do you know what I'm talking about? I've never signed up for any of those.
Yeah. So let's talk about two things on that. One is I do recommend that clients check their credit at least once a year. You go on to annualcreditreport.com. You don't have to pay to have the credit score, but it gives you a great bird's eye view of your credit with all three bureaus. And it basically will tell you how you stand with credit. Have your accounts been paid on time? Is there anything on your report that you're not aware of? So that is one thing I highly recommend, is that at least once a year, do a free credit report through Annual Credit Report. You can do it once with three bureaus, or you can split it apart and pull three, one with TransUnion, one with Equifax, and one with Experian. You can space it out and pull it at different points of the year. So you can actually pull three a year if you wanted to. I think that's crucial to your financial well-being, especially given how much weight is put on a credit score. As far as credit monitoring, I think it is a good service to have. Most credit card companies will give it to you for free, where they'll basically just monitor you and tell you if a new account has opened, if an inquiry's been made. But another way to do that if you have to pay for a monitoring service, is going into each of the three bureaus and doing what's called a credit freeze, where you actually freeze your credit report, because Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian will still send you like a monthly update, and they'll say your credit score has gone up or your credit score has gone down. Now, should you focus on that and worry about it? No, because your credit score is going to naturally move up and down based on your spending habits throughout a month. So if you charge on a credit card and you pay it all off, your credit score is going to go up and down. So don't get too focused on the credit score, but I think monitoring your credit, putting a freeze on your credit with all of the identity theft that's out there right now, I think it's very, very financially wise to do so.
Okay. And what tips, like when we're with clients and they ask us questions and without having to read the book right now, I think it's a great idea to have it, but what tips would you give someone? I think the credit card is one, or the credit check is one, but what else in terms of, I mean, I don't even know about people understanding the interest rates that when they have credit card debt, they don't get that it's 25, 27%. But what are some few simple tips when you're out in the car with somebody that just say, hey, read this book, yet here is, have you thought of this?
Before you answer that, Jodee, one thing, Betty, I've had my clients talk to Jodee, and she goes over stuff with them in advance, trying to help them clean up their credit over the next 6 months so they're ready to go. I would just tell them also just to call Jodee, but go ahead, Jodee.
Thank you.
So yes, you can do that. You can just say, call Jodee. But I would say if you're making light conversation about, if a client expresses, oh, we might have debt, then I would make that suggestion of, have you taken the time to actually write down, basically put it into columns? Here's the creditor, here's the balance that I owe, here's the interest rate that I pay on that each month, and here's what I actually pay. Because sometimes clients want to pay $20, $30 more a month versus just the minimum payment. Sometimes they pay off in full. But I think encouraging clients to have that inventory checklist of, here are the credit cards that I have, here are the interest rates. Knowing what those interest rates are, Betty, to your point, most people do not look at their credit card statements anymore. They get it online, or it's on automatic bill pay, and they never see that Nordstrom and Macy's and maybe their Visa card is 29%. And, they'll look at you and say, what do you mean mortgage rates are 6.5%? But they're paying 29% on a credit card.
Good point.
So giving them that advice, I think, is huge. And you can make basic conversation of, you're about to go into the biggest investment that you've ever made in your life. You're going to have to restructure finances. And you can say, you know, think about when you bought your first car, or if this is your second home, when you bought your first home, how that mortgage payment had a little bit of a push on your budget. So now is a good time to kind of look at your finances and start. In the book, it talks about, how do I trim expenses? How do I, you know, look at credit cards differently? What do I pay off first? Those are the things that you can have light conversations with, that just give you that expertise with your client and build a little bit stronger relationship with them.
I think those are really excellent points. And the third question, sorry to monopolize, but rent versus buy. Do you do guidance, some tips on, I mean, we know, but how do you handle that?
So I definitely do buy versus rent tips. And the one thing that I always focus on is the interest deduction and the property tax deduction. Because over time, you're building equity versus paying a landlord. And even if you're not getting money back right first year, second year, because there are so many parameters with taxes now, we can never guarantee that a client is going to get money back. But that write-off does help. And when you're building an equity position for yourself, it's a financial goal that I think empowers people far greater than paying rent does, for sure.
Yeah.
So I do focus on, you know, the benefits of home ownership more than anything.
And I love the statistics where the average savings for somebody who rents is maybe 40,000 in their savings account versus a homeowner is 250, whatever the number is. But it's huge, the difference. So thank you. Great tip, Jodee.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Patty.
And just to piggyback on that, Tanya and I had a client who worked for Tesla and had so much Tesla stock and was so focused on that and almost paranoid about taking money out of Tesla stock and investing into a home. I can tell you with certainty right now, they are thrilled that they have diversified a portfolio. And that's a big conversation to have with clients right now. Is you have so many clients who work for these big tech companies. We're in the Bay Area. Stock prices have gone down with a lot of these big tech companies. Had they diversified those portfolios, they would still be earning on the money they cashed out with stock in their home. And that balances the portfolio and helps weather storms. So another strong point that I would keep in the back of your mind right now is really helping clients understand that diversification on a portfolio is essential to long-term financial security.
Well, another thing is so confusing is how these credit agencies rank your credit, and navigating, what do I need to do? If I do, no, don't do that, it screws it up. I mean, it's I wish they would do something on the federal level to clean that up on how that reporting takes place.
Yeah. And taking some of those tips and putting them in the newsletter on how credit reporting does take place. So
we need to add that to our newsletter. I'm adding that down.
Yes, because one is, you don't want to close your longest opened account. And some people, when they get into this mode of closing accounts, that's the first thing they do, is they close the account that they've had for 20 years. Well, you've just negatively impacted your credit score. So keep that one open, close some of the short-term accounts, and then keep your balances to a third or less of what the available credit is to keep the credit score strong. And obviously paying on time is a big one. But if you have a credit card that has a $10,000 limit and you've maxed it out and you're at $9,999, that is going to negatively impact your credit score. If you pay that down to $3,000, it's going to improve your credit score. So there are ways to wiggle it and play with it that you definitely, those are tips you can put into a newsletter just to stay in front of your client as well and maintain that expertise relationship with them.
Thank you.
Rob,
Rob,
you got a
you have
question?
your hand raised?
Yeah. Go ahead and unmute.
Oh, you're muted.
Hey, y'all. You guys are up early.
No, it's late.
Welcome
It's
to the
late.
West Coast, Rob.
I know. Jody, and John, I've not been on this group, so it's fun to come on to a new group. Obviously, we know each other, so thank you for doing this, and Tanya. Jody, um, one thing my wife and me personally experienced was the fact of the automatic pays that show up on your credit card. And I ended up I used Chase. I'm happy to say I pay it every month off totally, but there was a time earlier on that that was a nightmare. Could you speak to the fact about finding out things that are, automatic payments? And I guess what I mean is like I didn't even know I had some automatic payments on there that I thought I had gotten rid of. The subscriptions, Dropbox or whatever else. What's been your experience there?
So you're referring to line items on your credit card statement, correct, Rob?
Yeah, they're line items but they're reoccurring and you look at them and they're not coded really well. So you're kind of going, what the heck is that? I ended up going to Rocket Money or something there just to do whatever. I can't remember what it was. It helped because they kind of identify it, but I was like, maybe there's a better source for that. I since that time know everything that's going out, but it was a battle. So
Yes. And when you get caught on those automatic renewals, like to your point, you may go in and do a trial for a Dropbox, and then you forget that you've done the trial and you see this recurring charge. Reviewing your statements every single month. And that's kind of the tough thing now about automation is so many people are set up on automatic payments, whether you pay the credit card in full or you make, a designated payment each month, it goes out of your account and you're not really looking at the statement. So especially in our industry, because you do have write-offs, take the time each and every month to go over your credit card statement. I know it's a pain. It's a 20-minute process, but line by line, looking at those, because to your point, that's a huge place that you can A, save money, and B, you may be getting charged for something that you're not even aware of anymore. Wine clubs, apps that you've downloaded on your phone, subscription renewals, looking at those monthly, annually, quarterly, something, it is essential to making sure that you're not getting overcharged. So I think the best thing is pulling out that statement, even if you get it in an electronic format, and going through it every month and taking the time to make phone calls and get some of those removed. You have to do it because you're the manager of your portfolio. And a credit card company is never going to call you and say, I keep seeing this recurring charge, but I don't know if you're using this service. They're never going to call you to say we offer a 10% interest rate versus a 20. You have to be an advocate for your own portfolio. So definitely taking the time to review line by line is essential for everything, for tax write-offs, for organization, and for making sure errors aren't coming up on credit.
great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Lorraine, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I'm the silent part of the Connections real estate team that doesn't go on camera very much, but I am very much alive and well. And I first of all want to, I can't say enough about Jodee. Like John and Tanya, she helps me with a lot of my clients, and there's just nobody better than her. So if she covers the area where you are, my question is, Jodee, we talk about being partners with our lender professional. What advice do you have for this group of lenders that would make your job easier? Certainly, communication is at the key of it, but in terms of timing versus that I have done this. Hey, Jodee, I'm here with some move up buyers. They found a house they want to buy. Can you give them a pre-approval so we can go? Not probably the best way to do it. So, what advice do you have for us to be better partners with you?
Well, first of all, thank you for your comments. And I would say the biggest one is communication. And we are all big on that. But getting the client in front of the lender faster than getting them into the car, it should always be the goal. because two things can happen. One, they could be in a situation where in their mind, they have a champagne dream and a beer budget. And we have to sometimes put the reality into place, because you don't want to waste your time taking a client out, showing them a house that they think they can afford, but they're not sure. Additionally, if there are credit issues that have to be cleaned up, it gives a little time and runway to get those addressed, to get them cleaned up, to get things managed. So I would say when you can, and it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you're at an open house on a Saturday and you have a hot buyer, and we have to deal with that. But most of the time, I would say as soon as you start that conversation with the lender, or excuse me, with your client, make sure that you refer them to your lender and have your lender do the due diligence right away up front to check credit, to look at assets. Those are the things that are going to tell you the story. And knowing the story creates the communication for a smooth transaction.
Great advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have
All
time
right,
for one
we
more
need
question
to,
with
like-
Shannon, or do we got to? What about Tanya?
Shannon,
One more
we-
question, or wait, go.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Well, thanks, Tanya. I appreciate that. I just have one quick question on an ARM versus a 30-year fixed. How do you explain that to the clients that are trying to chase the shiny object of a lower interest rate to see where the benefit is versus not the benefit of an ARM?
So when I look at fixed versus ARM, again, I look at the whole portfolio, Shannon, of even spending habits, because you're right. An adjustable rate mortgage can be the shiny new object that seems really appealing, but I really break down what an adjustable means. What is a floor? What is a life cap? What does it mean when you come out of that great 7-year fixed at a lower interest rate? Here's the maximum that interest rate can go to. Here's what that payment would be. So it's an educational process, really and truly, of giving them the highs and the lows, no pun intended, of an adjustable rate mortgage, and then talking to them about their comfort level and how they feel about that. When you look at a client's portfolio and you look at their spending habits, you can pretty much dial in if a person could handle that kind of risk, because it is risk. So it's educating them is basically what I do more than anything. Is this is what it is today, but 7 years from now, here's what can happen. How do you feel about that?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so Jodee, as you know, at the end of each call, we like to do what we call a little rapid 6 at 6.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so. We'll see.
If you could choose where you were going to live, would you choose a beach house or a mountain house?
Oh, mountain house for sure.
I knew it.
You got your Tahoe place.
Tahoe.
Favorite ice cream?
Favorite ice cream. Oh, that's a tough one. Chocolate, anything chocolate vanilla with a little crunch is great.
First celebrity crush?
Jeremy Piven.
Who's that?
And that was later
You don't know
years. I
Jeremy
mean, do you
Piven?
want me to go
Oh.
way back to like Sean Cassidy times? Or
There we go.
Okay.
Sean
All right.
Cassidy.
I was going a little more current, but we'll go back. Sean Cassidy for sure.
I gotta go look up this Jeremy guy.
Is it the Piven entourage?
Yes.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's a
Mark.
couple of Pivens. So
Yeah.
Jeremy
Oh,
Piven from
okay.
Entourage. You got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
it.
I'm with you there, girl. If you could travel anywhere, forward or back in time, where would you go and why?
Ooh. I think I would go back to my 40s. And it was a very fun time. It was, Chloe was little and I was younger. And it was an opportunity where I think you looked at life in your 40s as the whole world is your oyster. But I think you can also create that in any time frame.
I thought you were still in your 30s.
I'm sorry. I was jumping ahead of myself.
You can't wait to get to your 40s is what you meant to
I
say.
can't wait.
Do you have any favorite books or movies that you go to time and time again?
My favorite movie is Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh,
And Will Smith played Chris Gardner. And there are two reasons I love that movie. Is one, the storyline about it. It was filmed in the Bay Area. It's a true story about Chris Gardner. And when I was 7.5 months pregnant, I was asked to speak at an event in Las Vegas, and Chris Gardner was one of the keynotes. And I made my OBGYN give me clearance so that I could go and speak with him.
nice. That's great.
So I
Hashtag
love that movie.
nice. And lastly, what are you doing after this call?
After this call, I'm going to actually work out.
Good for you. Healthy.
I need to get my workout in and do the day.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It sounds like many people got a lot out of it, and we appreciate you joining us, and we hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you for
Jodee.
having me.
We've got